let go. Hey, Instagram, it's me, T, from the Pattersons, taking the train to Tibet. And we're here at a Grand Rising Report. It's Grand Rising because pretty soon it's going to be sunrise, and that's the Grand Rising of the sun, and the Grand Rising of you also. Now, you have to prepare yourself for Grand Rising. Like, for instance, by the way, we're in blue light. That means the blue light brigade has been on the case. They should have been on the case before anyway. Now, the blue light brigade, let me just explain blue light brigade just so you know. Those people in the blue light brigade, you know what I'm talking about. Now, you see, when the dawning comes, the dawning is like, the dawn, Prince waiting for the dawn. Don't worry about that one. It's something else. The dawn comes a half hour before sunrise, okay? Okay, you got that time frame, right? Now, when that dawn hits, for about 20 minutes, precisely 20 minutes it's supposed to be, for 20 minutes, that's what I call the blue light. They call it something, they got some fancy scientific term for it, blah, 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 blah. I get it from the arts, because I'm an artsy kind of person, work on film sets, look, anything in the arts, I probably did. Talking about newspapers, art, photography, whatever, radio, especially the arts. Anyway, and then after the 20 minutes, then there's a 10-minute gap. In that gap, the blue light brigade, what we're supposed to be doing is activating, really thinking. Because in that blue light, we've sort of stretched, we got our body together, Now we're getting our minds together. Because when the sun rises, when there's a grand rising, we have already risen our body. See, it goes up like that. Then we've risen our mind, and then the sun comes, and we're ready to ascend, to be grand risen. Oh, by the way, since I'm talking blue light, let me stay with the blue light brigade because things are getting interesting. A couple of things. First of all, the blue light brigade, we do have a uniform. I know you don't. Say, wait a second, brother. We ain't got. It's not that we got a uniform. We have certain things that we got to do. Like for instance, our uniform consists of this, right? First of all, you have to, not have to, but look, I'm what you call your titular head, right? There is no head, right? But in our troop formation, you're supposed to have two people, other than you. So you're a threes. We operate in groups of threes, right? Okay, got that. Now, one of the things you need a muti bag. Now, muti bag has your medicines or whatever, your crystals, whatever. It's a muti bag. Muti bag looks like this. Well, this is a muti bag I got a long time ago. As you can see, it got the rasta thing on there. Hey, look, it's got basically three colors: the green, the black, and the brown. And this is a picture of the, blah, 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 blah. Okay, this is a muti bag. In your muti bag, you have your muti. I can't explain it. You got to figure out what that is yourself. My muti bag actually has a ruby in it, which happens to be my birthstone. It's not a polished ruby. It's a real ruby from the ground. I actually got it from here in Oroville. That's a story that has been told already. So you got the muti bag, right? Now, in the muti bag usually I put it. It has to be, well, it doesn't have to be, but I have it around my waist most of the time because if I'm wearing t-shirts, I have it around my waist. But if I'm wearing a collared shirt, then I have it around my neck. It goes like that, It could be hidden, be inside, could be outside, whatever. It could even be in your pocket. Say you're working out. It could be in your pocket. It don't have to be out, okay? So that's the muti bag, right? The other thing that you sort of really should have now this is for, I should say, how do I say this? The blue light brigade, there's no male female divide thing. This is your grouping could be whatever. It could be or female, male mix, blah, 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 whatever it is, right? You also have to have a crown. You gotta protect your head, not protect your head, but you have a crown. Now, the reason why you have a crown is because, well, I should say the Blue Light Brigade people, they come from the lineage of African Americans. That they call African Americans. We are actually American Africans, but I'm going to put that out there like that. No, let me do it the way. No, we are American Africans, but don't let that. It comes from that tradition because in the American African pantheon, what happens is they had the black slaves, and the master would come by and always try to rub their head for good luck. That's why you have the jockey long thing, rub the head for good luck, right? So having a crown prevents them from putting direct contact on your head. Don't let them rub your head, which is the reason why also, if you're going to get locks or something like that, you can only have one person dealing with your. I learned this from Rhonda Miller. She was a loctician. First of all, I started my own locks when I had my locks, right? But then she said, oh, no, blah, 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 blah. So she was the only one that did my locks. Nobody else. You don't have 25 different people doing your locks. I suppose if you have 2 other people and then the maximum 2 people can do your locks. That's it. Don't be going to, they say, but if I go someplace and da. Well, I guess you can, look, we can make your own rules about the locks. The point is, not a whole lot of people are supposed to be rubbing, touching, whatever your head. So if you have a crown on, that you say, well, what? But I'm a guy and I gotta go to church. I gotta take my thing off. Well, why do you think church made you take your hat off? Just saying. So things could get in. I'm just saying. I'm not even coming. Okay, great. So now that we've gone past that's the only 2 uniform things I guess I'm suggesting. Oh, there you go. I am, as the titular head of the Blue Light Brigade, I can only suggest, right? I'm that kind of titular head. I only suggest. It's like, because, for instance, I'm the senior advisor to the Basel Art Society. I can only suggest. They don't have to listen to me. And I'm also Arts Director Emeritus. Now that, Arts Director Emeritus means I can do anything in the arts, and I can share it with who I'm the Arts Emeritus Director, Arts Emeritus of, which would be the WBI Radio in New York. See, they don't have to take what I say either. I just say, hey, look, I'm going to do this. And they say, oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Arts Director Emeritus. They can give me an assignment. I can say, nah. See what I'm saying? So, as Arts Director Emeritus, I'm my own person. You see how that works? Okay. So we got that straight. Now, we're in a situation right now because, remember, I kept on saying Donald Trump is smarter than you are. And people freaking out. Oh, he's a thing, he's a that, he's a this or that. But you don't ignore the second part of that. I said, he's smarter than you are. He's not smarter than me. Blue Light Brigade, you got to take the me part. I said, wait a second now. You said he's smarter. Look, let me put it this way. First of all, one of them said, he's not smarter than me because I'm from the Bronx. He's from the Queens. You have to look at the person's background or whatever it is, Now, I'm not talking about his parents. I know they say his father was psychotic, crazy, whatever, like that. And then he'll say, oh, yeah, the fruit doesn't fall far. That's why he's, But sometimes you're informed by other things. See, my problem is he may had a psychotic father, but he was raised by Roy Cohen. He was reared by Roy Cohen. Oh, now that's something to think about that. You find out who Roy Cohen is for yourself, right? He was also reared by the mafia. Think about that. He went to one of those. I think he went to one of those big time Wharton School or Sloan School for economics, right? I think I don't like that, but he knows economics, right? And because he's even if that wasn't true, even if that's not the school, he went to an elite school, right? Which means that he hang out with, he's envious of, or he's part of the elite circles. And you can, and let me say how smart he is in elite circles. You know, back in the day, the reason back in the day, the real smart people, you know, you ever hear this thing where you couldn't get a doctor on a Wednesday because he's at the golf course? The leaders of the communities run out the golf course on a Wednesday. That's why you have Wednesdays off, right? So what happens is all the smart people, you know, so-called smart people, the captains of this, the industries of that, whatever have you, they meet at the golf course. And that golf course, you can't have any people that are not of your persuasion. So therefore, yeah, well, all this thing, you know, and nobody's spying on you. You see? Hey, have you ever seen the movie Titanic? What's that thing where the men that they have dinner together, and then the men retire to some room with cigars and bourbon, and the women are not allowed there, and also riffraff are not allowed in there, right? Because they got to talk business, right? They got to talk exploitation. They got to talk how to that. You see, they always have their little clubbies like that. Okay, but the problem is those are isolation. Well, let me leave that alone, right? Okay, so now that we've established that, hopefully, and here's the thing. But also you have to take a person at their word. What did Donald Trump want to do? He want his name blazed throughout history. He wanted to be the most famous person in history. More famous than, let's go backwards. When you want to look for a bad guy in history, you say Hitler. More famous than Hitler. Well, Hitler's not the worst guy. I mean, you know, I understand. You know, in fact, they get a lot of the stuff from him. I mean, but, you know, as far as German goes, well, Hitler's Austrian and German, so I guess that is something. But, you know, Bismarck was worse than Hitler, as far as I'm concerned, but then again, I read different things than you read, right? And forget him. Hey, how about that little child idiot? No, I should call him an idiot. But Alexander the Great, you know, what did he do? He ran around destroying art, destroying libraries. To me, the most criminal person in the entire planet, entire history, was not Genghis Khan, you know, boinking everybody. It's not, It's Alexander the Great destroying a library. Now that's stupid. Now that is a crime against all crimes. You know, the burning library, Alexander, you know, we're talking about, you know, Mali and all. You know. In fact, one of the greatest heroes is this cat from Mali. When stuff was happening, he went and hid stuff so the libraries can be preserved. A modern guy, I don't know if he's still alive, but a modern guy, you see? So, because, you know, what do they say? If an old person dies, the whole library dies, which means, which goes, let's get to the modern thing. You, as Blue Light Brigade, you have a responsibility. Remember I said, first you get your body together, then that 10 minutes, you got to get your mind, expand your mind, get strategies, tactics, or whatever have you, before you grand ascend, right? So this means that you got to be ready, physically and mentally, to carry on. Because that's what it is. Now, the funny thing. Oh, well, the thing is, now, he said, but this is serious, brother. I said, nah, I don't take anything serious. I shouldn't say it that way. I think there's a seriousness in absurdity. I think things are absurd. And because they're absurd, my seriousness, something looks really serious to me, I said, that's absurd, right? And that makes me laugh. I laugh. I laugh in the face of danger. I laugh in the face of, basically, it's absurd. You pull a knife on me. That's absurd. I've been in these look, I won't get into all that stuff. The point is, it's absurd that we should be living in a situation or existing in a situation where we're not free, we're not liberated, right? Which, again, you know, what's the objective of Blue Light Brigade? Is we have to address absurdity. We go for our task, our mission is for ultimate liberation. It's absurd that we have to go for ultimate liberation. Ultimate liberation should be a given. So it's absurd that we got to address, I'm going to put it that way, ultimate liberation. No, we're not into rebel, well, I should say, revolution is one thing, whatever is something else, and you got to, but, you know, and you got to be clear. Like, okay, and then what happens is you come across things and you can't let it absorb you. Like I came across something on the internet. I think that's what they said. They was talking about Gaddafi had he had this Air Force where he was coming someplace, right? And an American general stood him down. American general with a think about this, with a pistol 45 on his hip. Now that reminds you of Ibrahim Traore, right? And who was this American? The report said that somehow he said it was 1969, which is stupid. It couldn't be 1969 because I knew this American general, and he wasn't a general in 1969 because I met him in '73, and he was a colonel, right? Anyway, so he stood on the runway, whatever happened. Gaddafi, his jet his fighter jet was coming, and he saw this American and said, "Hey, you got to come through me." Well, he said it that way. He said something else. That was slicker than that. I don't want to take no words away from him. And the Gaddafi said, I don't know what Gaddafi was going through his brain, but maybe he said like, hey, maybe he said this is absurd, or maybe he said like, I'll wait and fight another day. So he turned his planes around like that. Who was that American general? The first black, or shall we say, the first American African general of the United States Air Force. I'm from the Air Force too. I met him when I was in the Air Force. Colonel Chappie James. That's a bad man. Think of the modern incarnation would be Captain Ibrahim Traore. I'm telling you. So what I'm saying is that we have to be who we are. You stand, I don't like to say stand your ground, but you stand for who you are. And you become more of what you are. And like I said, to me, you know, because I have to laugh in the face of danger, because things are funny. Like for instance, I'll give you an example. Here's what it's so entertaining to me what's happening with all that Trump is doing. Everybody's all upset, right? This is why I say he's smarter than you are, because you pretty well. Because most of the people that follow him or whatever, they're pretty dumb. Well, he's smarter than, if you following, if you're a devotee of the Donald, you dumb. You're dumb as a Drumpf. All those people who slick, they know what I just said, right? I'll give you a chance. Look what China did. People saying, oh, China this and the tariffs are going to, and China going to say, what? Oh, you can't get your Gucci bag. Well, you understand that Gucci, they do like they do in South Africa. They send the parts down, South Africa puts it together, puts the windshield in the Mercedes, and then they did that, and South Africa said, oh yeah, we built the Mercedes. And that, whoa, hey, look at this. We would just hit sunrise. So sunrise, sorry, interrupt. It's not an interruption. It's a continuation. We have to obey the sunrise. The grand rising has appeared. So what do? We take a deep breath through our nose, and then we take a follow-up breath. We're holding a deep breath, right? And then we blow it out through our mouth like this. And you have to expand your rib cage when you do it. So let's try it one more time so we can do it properly. Here we go. Grand rising. Welcome to the new day, the new glorious day. Now, let's get back to the point here. And so what they do with the Chinese, oh, don't we love the internet? Don't we just love the internet? The Chinese, when one cat in his factory said, oh, you idiots, you think you go into some Versace store or some whatever, Tommy Footy, whatever store, and you get your, it's all made in China. Look right back here. This we got the thing right here. We send it to them. They put their label on it, and then they sell it to you at an absorbent price. Think of Frank Lucas. Cut out the middle. He cut out the middleman. He went straight to the poppy fields or wherever, in Thailand, wherever it was, right? Got the dope straight from there, got it sent back. You know what I mean? No more middleman. There are people no stamping their little thing on. He used to put his own stamp on. So here's the thing. So what I'm trying to get at is that as an American African made in the Mount Haven section of the Bronx, the thing that binds us all together. Now remember, if I was an American, then maybe I'd be following the Drumpf man. You know what I mean? Maybe I'd be maybe the Drumpf man would be my commander in chief. But I'm not an American. I'm an American African. Just like, if you was a Burkina Faso, you'd be a Bokane, whatever they say, African. A Malayan African. A Niger African. A Trinidadian African. A Filipino African. An Australian African or Aboriginal African. You see, you get what I'm saying? The African is your mentality, how you address things. And that's, I don't say that's our middle name, but that's our calling. That's our calling. You'll be an Ethiopian African. That is your calling. And what is you say my calling, what's the calling? The calling is for ultimate liberation. You have to liberate your Africanness. People say, well, you gotta decolonize your mind. No, you don't have to, that's reacting to the colonizer. You have to Africanize your mind. You don't have to decolonize it. In fact, that's the whole thing. You take up space. If you are Africanizing, looking for ultimate liberation, your mind, then there's no space for anything else. There's no time for decolonizing. The most upsetting thing I see this, in fact, I wrote a thing about, I responded to this. You know, you see these politicians, they're saying, yeah, and the Drumpf man did this, and the Donald did that, and we don't respect the Donald. We're gonna go up to him, and we're gonna send a delegation up there, and we're gonna talk to him. We're gonna write a very stern letter. You're reacting to an idiot. I'm sorry, you're not an idiot. I try to say you're reacting to a smart person, because he throwing so much stuff out there that you just react to this, you react to do something else, you react. Instead of you saying, hey, I'm going to ignore the ignorant. Got that? If you don't think that the Drumpf man is smarter than you are, then you must think he's ignorant. And if he's ignorant, then why are you washing in his backwash? Why do you just ignore the ignorant? Let me give you. I know I talked too long. I want to go. Let me leave it at that. I got some other stories. I got stories up the yazoo, man. I can tell you all kinds of things. But that's the point. The point is, you are supposed, no matter where you are, you don't react. You don't say you're going to do something. You don't need to do something. You need to do something. You need to do ultimate liberation. You need to do your Africanization. Stop reacting. That's all I got to say. Talk to you another time. Bye.